One, in the heart of a sprawling metropolis, under the shadow of towering skyscrapers that seemingly touched the sky, a man named Patrick lived a life mundane and uneventful. He was an accountant, working in a firm where the numbers never lied, but the people behind them often did. His existence was monotonous, a series of spreadsheets and reports that blended into each other like the colors of a faded painting. Yet, deep within Patrick, a restlessness stirred, a yearning for something more, something extraordinary. Little did he know that his life was about to be upended by an entity far darker and more powerful than any he could have imagined. It was on a balmy evening, during the end of the workday, as Patrick stepped out of his drab office building and into the bustling streets of the city, that he felt the first tremor of change. A sudden, inexplicable chill ran down his spine, a premonition of something ominous on the horizon. As he walked home, the streets seemed to pulse with an energy he couldn't quite grasp, and the shadows seemed to dance and flicker with an unnatural light. Patrick's senses were heightened, his instincts alert to a threat that loomed just beyond the veil of the ordinary. That night, as Patrick lay in bed, his dreams were invaded by a presence that was not a part of the known world. A malevolent figure, cloaked in darkness, whispered into his ear, its voice like a siren's song that beckoned him towards the abyss. The dream was relentless, a haunting echo of the encounter that would later be revealed as the first step in an inexorable descent into darkness. The next day, Patrick awoke with a headache and a feeling of unease that clung to him like a shroud. He dismissed it as a side effect of a long day and a restless night, but the truth was far more sinister. In that fateful encounter with the entity, Patrick's soul had been marked, the seed of possession planted by forces he could not comprehend, much less fight against. Page 2. The days that followed were a slow descent into madness. Patrick's behavior grew erratic, his once meticulous habits slipping away like grains of sand through an hourglass. His work suffered as he became increasingly distracted, his thoughts consumed by a darkness that gnawed at the edges of his consciousness. Colleagues and friends alike noticed the change, but Patrick, ever the master of denial, attributed it to stress and fatigue. But it was more than that. It was the beginning of the possession, the slow, insidious taking over of his soul by the entity that had first whispered into his dreams. As days turned into weeks, the signs of Patrick's possession became increasingly obvious. He began to hear voices in his head, a chorus of demonic laughter and cunning whispers that seemed to answer his every thought. His behavior grew erratic, his mood swings volatile, and his once steady hand at the office became a chaotic dance of paper shuffling and disorganized scribblings. It wasn't long before Patrick's life spiraled out of control, his relationship with his girlfriend strained by his inexplicable behavior, which ranged from cold indifference to sudden bursts of rage. His once close, knit group of friends began to distance themselves, unable to comprehend the transformation that had taken place before their eyes. Patrick's possession grew to the point where it became apparent to those around him that something was terribly wrong. The whispers grew louder, the laughter more prominent, and the once gentle soul he had known was consumed by a dark hunger that gnawed at his very being. His girlfriend, Sarah, who had stood by him through thick and thin, could no longer bear to watch him succumb to this unseen force. With a heavy heart, she decided to intervene, seeking the help of a psychologist in hopes of saving the man she loved from the clutches of an unseen darkness. Page 3. The psychologist, Dr. Elizabeth Saunders, was a seasoned professional who had dealt with her fair share of unusual cases. But as she listened to Sarah's story, the hair on the back of her neck stood on end. There was something about Patrick's case that felt different, something primal and otherworldly that defied her understanding of human psychology. Dr. Saunders was no stranger to the paranormal, having dedicated a portion of her studies to the fringes of spirituality and the unexplained. Despite her skepticism, she couldn't shake the feeling that Patrick was not just a troubled soul, but a vessel for something far more sinister. As the sessions with Dr. Saunders progressed, the truth began to unravel. Patrick would arrive for appointments with a blank stare, his eyes devoid of the life that once shone within them. He would say nothing for hours, only to erupt in fits of anger when prompted to discuss his feelings or the voices in his head. Sarah, who had accompanied Patrick to these sessions, could only watch in horror as her once happy partner was consumed by a darkness that she couldn't begin to comprehend. Dr. Saunders, despite her prior reservations, began to suspect that this was no ordinary case of mental instability. One fateful evening, as Patrick and Sarah left Dr. Saunders' office, the possessing entity made its presence known in full force. As they walked through the dimly lit streets, Patrick suddenly turned to Sarah, his expression twisted into a mask of fury. "You want to play games, human? Let's see how far you can run," he snarled, his voice not Patrick's own but an otherworldly growl that sent shivers down Sarah's spine. It was then that she knew beyond any shadow of a doubt that her lover was not himself, that the darkness that now resided within him was far more powerful and dangerous than she could have ever imagined. Page 4. Sarah's heart pounded as she fled the scene, her mind racing to find a way to help Patrick, to free him from the entity that had taken over his body. She sought out every possible avenue of help, from spiritual advisors to exorcism specialists, desperate to save the man she loved from the fiery depths of the abyss. But each path she took led to dead ends, each expert offering only platitudes and empty promises. It became apparent that the demonic force within Patrick was unlike anything they had ever encountered, a being that seemed to have no regard for the laws of nature or the sanctity of human life. Desperate for answers, Sarah delved into the history of demonic possession, seeking out ancient texts and the stories of those who had faced similar battles. It was during one such foray into an antiquarian bookstore that Sarah discovered a journal, bound in leather and etched with cryptic symbols. The journal spoke of a demon known as Zyfrak, a fallen angel banished to the world of humans by its higher order for disobedience. The journal spoke of the entity's ability to possess its victims, turning them into vessels for its dark will. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine as she recognized the name of the demon that had been tormenting Patrick. With this newfound knowledge, Sarah sought out a renowned demonologist, Dr. Jacob Kane, whose reputation for unraveling the mysteries of the supernatural was the stuff of legends. Dr. Kane listened to Sarah's account of Patrick's possession with a mixture of disbelief and grim fascination. He agreed to help, his eyes flashing with a fire that suggested he had dealt with creatures like Zyfrak before. Together, they would embark on a harrowing journey into the depths of the supernatural, a quest to save Patrick from the demon that had ensnared his soul. Page 5. Dr. Kane began by researching the history of demonic entities, delving into ancient texts and forgotten lore to understand the nature of Zyfrak and how to combat it. He explained to Sarah that Zyfrak was one of the oldest and most cunning demons, known for its ability to blend into human society, feigning friendship and trust before striking its unsuspecting victims. The demonologist warned Sarah that the entity had chosen Patrick for a reason, and that they would have to be prepared for a battle unlike any other. As they delved deeper into the dark corners of the supernatural, the presence of Zyfrak grew stronger, its whispers and laughter becoming a constant companion to both Sarah and Dr. Kane. It was clear that the entity was aware of their plans and would stop at nothing to maintain its hold over Patrick. It was during one of their late-night sessions that the demon decided to make its presence known, manifesting a spectral form before them. The demon's eyes were a black void, and its voice a chilling hiss that sent shivers down their spines. "You'll never save him," it whispered, its form shimmering menacingly. "He's mine, and I will take him to the depths of hell." Despite the ominous warning, Dr. Kane and Sarah pressed on, undeterred by the demon's taunts. They studied ancient rituals, performed ceremonies, and sought the counsel of mystics, all in the hopes of discovering a weakness in Zyfrak that could be exploited. As they delved into the arcane, they learned of a powerful relic known as the Aegis of Solomon. an artifact rumored to be capable of binding and banishing demons. The artifact was said to be hidden in the ruins of an ancient temple, deep within the wilderness, guarded by a host of supernatural entities. Page 6. The journey to the temple was fraught with peril, as both Dr. Kane and Sarah encountered a host of otherworldly beings that sought to hinder their progress. Shapeshifters, vampires, and even other demons stood in their path, testing their resolve and their belief in the power of the Aegis. But they persevered, driven by the love for Patrick and the knowledge that time was growing short. They fought their way through the wilderness, relying on their wits and the limited knowledge they had gleaned from ancient texts, each step bringing them closer to the artifact that could save Patrick's soul. Finally, after days of travel, they arrived at the temple, its crumbling walls a testament to the passage of time. As they entered the main chamber, they were met with the sight of the Aegis of Solomon, a magnificent crystal set in a silver frame, shimmering with a light that seemed to pierce the veil between worlds. Dr. Kane, his hands steady despite the tremors in his voice, explained that the crystal had to be touched by the purest of hearts, one untainted by the darkness that resides within human souls. It was a task that would require faith and courage, a test of their very humanity. Sarah, with her love for Patrick as her guiding light, stepped forward, her hand reaching out to touch the crystal. As her fingers brushed against the cool surface, a wave of energy surged through her, a cleansing light that seemed to emanate from the artifact itself. She could feel the darkness within her recoil, the whispers of Zyfrak growing fainter as the light of the Aegis cleansed her soul. Dr. Kane stood beside her, his heart pounding with the knowledge that this was their only chance to save Patrick from the demonic clutches that had ensnared him. Page 7. With the power of the Aegis within her, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose, a determination that had been missing from her life since Patrick's possession. She knew that she had to act quickly, that the demon would not remain dormant for long, and that the time to strike was now. Dr. Kane, with the wisdom of his years studying the supernatural, prepared the ritual to bind and banish Zyfrak. They would need to find Patrick, who was by now in the throes of the entity's control, and perform the ritual in a place where the forces of light could stand against the darkness. Their search led them to a secluded part of the city, an old abandoned warehouse where Zyfrak had chosen to reside, hidden from the eyes of the unwary. As they approached, the air grew thick with an atmosphere of malevolence, the whispers of the demon growing louder, the laughter more sinister. With each step, Sarah could feel her connection to the Aegis's power strengthening, a beacon of light in the heart of the darkness. Dr. Kane, his hands steady as he prepared the ritual, knew that this was their moment. Patrick, consumed by the demon, was oblivious to their approach. He stood at the center of the warehouse, his eyes glazed over, his body moving with a sinister grace as he spoke in tongues that were not of this world. As Sarah and Dr. Kane entered, the entity turned to face them, its form a twisted mockery of Patrick's, its eyes a void of pure malevolence. They could see the struggle within Patrick's soul, the battle between the man he once was and the demon that had taken him over. It was a sight that tore at their hearts, but they could not allow themselves to be swayed by emotion. They had to save him. Page 8. The ritual began, the words of the exorcism echoing through the warehouse as the darkness seemed to recoil from their presence. Dr. Kane, his voice strong and unwavering, chanted the ancient incantations that would bind and banish the demon. Sarah, with the Aegis's power coursing through her, felt a connection to Patrick that she had never experienced before. She could sense his torment, the struggle to maintain his humanity against the onslaught of the demon's will. As the ritual continued, the air in the warehouse grew thick with a palpable tension, the very fabric of reality straining against the forces of light and darkness. The demon, sensing its doom, lashed out in a rage, the shadows in the room flickering and throbbing with a violent energy. Patrick, caught between the demon and the light, was tossed about as though he were a leaf in a storm, his body convulsing in the grip of the entity's fury. Sarah felt her connection to Patrick grow more intense, her love for him a shield against the demon's dark influence. She stepped forward, the Aegis's light a beacon in the darkness. and with a voice that was not her own but somehow resonated with power, she called out to Patrick, "Patrick, fight. Remember who you are, fight." The words pierced through the darkness, reaching the man within the demon, stirring a flicker of recognition, a spark of the man he once was. Page 9. The moment of recognition was enough. Patrick, in the throes of the demon's possession, found himself able to resist, a flicker of his own will breaking through the black cloud that had enshrouded his mind. The entity howled in rage, its grip on Patrick's soul slipping. The battle between the man and the demon was now in full force, a war for Patrick's very soul. Dr. Kane, his eyes locked on Patrick, knew that this was the critical moment, the point where the man would either succumb completely to the demon or reclaim his humanity. He continued the ritual, his voice a battle cry against the darkness. The room was a storm of light and shadow, the demon's laughter mingling with Patrick's desperate cries as they fought for dominance. Sarah, her hands trembling with the power of the Aegis, held on to Patrick, her love for him a shield against the demon's influence. Gradually, the light of the Aegis began to pierce the darkness, a radiant force that pushed back against the demon's oppressive presence. Patrick, despite the demon's best efforts, began to regain control, his eyes clear for the first time in months. The demon's laughter grew fainter, its body flickering and fading, the shadows retreating in the face of the Aegis's light. Dr. Kane finished the ritual, the final words sealing the demon's fate as it was banished back to the abyss from whence it came. Page 10. The warehouse, once a cauldron of darkness and chaos, now stood still, the air heavy with the scent of victory. Patrick, still shaking from the ordeal, looked around in a daze, his eyes finally meeting Sarah's. The relief in his expression was palpable, a man reunited with the love of his life and the man he had once been. Dr. Kane approached them, his face a mask of relief, his voice filled with the pride of having seen a man reclaim his soul from the depths of hell. They left the warehouse, the doors slamming shut behind them, sealing the demon within as they carried Patrick to safety. As they walked away, the darkness that had plagued the city began to dissipate, the whispers and laughter now nothing more than a fading memory. Sarah held Patrick close, her heart swelling with love and gratitude, the Aegis's light continuing to shine within her, a reminder of the power of the human spirit to overcome even the darkest of forces. In the days that followed, Patrick's recovery was slow but steady. He was haunted by the memories of his possession, the horrors he had endured, and the realization of the strength of the supernatural. But Sarah was by his side every step of the way, her love for him a beacon that guided him towards redemption. Dr. Kane, with his wealth of knowledge and experience, offered his guidance, ensuring that Patrick's recovery was as smooth as possible. Page 11. The road to recovery was fraught with uncertainty as Patrick grappled with the aftermath of his possession. There were moments where the darkness would try to claw its way back into his mind, but Sarah's unwavering support and Dr. Kane's expertise kept it at bay. Together, they faced the challenges of rebuilding Patrick's life, piece by piece, as they pieced together the fragments of his past and the traumas that had led to his possession. The world outside their small haven seemed unaware of the battle that had taken place within their walls, the city continuing its relentless pace. But for Patrick and Sarah, the world had changed, a newfound respect for the unknown and the supernatural taking root in their hearts. They knew that the battle against the darkness was far from over, that there were forces at work that they could not fathom, but they were stronger now, their bond unbreakable, and their love a shield against the shadows that lurked in the corners of their world. Patrick returned to work, not as the accountant he once was, but as a man who had seen the depths of darkness and emerged stronger for it. His colleagues noted the change in him, the newfound passion and determination that he brought to his job. His relationship with Sarah blossomed into a love that defied the odds, their connection deeper than ever before. They had faced the abyss together and emerged victorious, a testament to the power of love and the resilience of the human spirit. Page 12. As the weeks turned into months, Patrick began to explore the world of the supernatural on his own terms, working closely with Dr. Kane to understand the forces that had threatened his life. They delved into the history of demons and angels, the legends of fallen beings, and the ancient rituals that had once bound and banished such entities. Patrick found solace in his newfound understanding, a sense of purpose in helping others who might find themselves in the same harrowing situation he had endured. Dr. Kane, who had watched Patrick grow into a formidable defender against the supernatural, was proud of the man he had become. Patrick's determination and courage were a testament to the strength of the human soul, and his journey had become a beacon for others who sought to understand and overcome the darkness within themselves. Sarah supported Patrick in his new endeavors, her love for him a constant reminder of the power of love to overcome even the most insurmountable odds. The city, once a backdrop for Patrick's ordeal, now felt like a sanctuary, a place where the love between him and Sarah could grow and thrive. They lived their lives with a newfound appreciation for the world around them, a world that was brimming with both extraordinary beauty and unfathomable dangers. Together, they stood on the precipice of two worlds, their love a bridge between the light and the dark. Page 13. Patrick's work in the supernatural had begun to garner attention, and he found himself being sought out by individuals who were dealing with their own personal demons. People who had heard of his story and his triumph over the darkness came to him, seeking guidance and assistance in their own battles. Patrick, with the help of Dr. Kane, took up the mantle of a protector, a guardian against the forces of evil that lurked in the shadows. Sarah, ever the supportive partner, became an integral part of this new mission. Her knowledge of the human psyche and her own experiences provided invaluable insight into the minds of those they sought to help. Together, they formed a team, a balance of scientific understanding and emotional empathy that allowed them to connect with those in need. The city, once a mere setting for their personal struggle, now served as a canvas for their crusade against the dark. Their actions drew the attention of others who shared their concerns about the supernatural. A small group began to form, a diverse collection of individuals brought together by the common goal of understanding and protecting against the unknown forces that threatened their society. Patrick became the leader of this group, his experiences and knowledge guiding them in their quest to protect the innocent and restore balance between the light and the dark. Page 14. As the group grew in numbers and strength, they became known as the Lightbringers, a collective of individuals who dedicated their lives to the protection of the city and its inhabitants from the supernatural. Patrick, Sarah, and Dr. Kane served as the core of the group, their leadership a mixture of science and compassion that inspired others to join their cause. They trained together, learned from each other, and shared their stories, each one a testament to the power of unity and the human spirit. The Lightbringers became a symbol of hope in a world where the supernatural was no longer a mere fantasy, but a reality that affected the lives of everyday people. They worked tirelessly to educate the public about the dangers that lurked in the shadows, teaching them how to protect themselves and how to seek help when faced with the unexplained. Their work was not without its challenges, as they encountered a variety of entities, some of which were far more cunning and powerful than Zyphrak. But with each challenge they grew stronger, their resolve unwavering in the face of the darkness. In their downtime, Patrick and Sarah found solace in each other, their love a constant reminder of the power of the human spirit against the backdrop of the supernatural. Despite the dangers they faced, they lived life to the fullest, cherishing each moment they shared. They knew that their journey was far from over, but they were no longer afraid of the darkness, for they had faced it together and emerged victorious. Page 15. The Lightbringers became a force to be reckoned with, their reputation spreading far beyond the confines of the city. They had saved countless lives, banished numerous entities, and brought peace of mind to those who had once lived in fear. The supernatural world, once a playground for malevolent forces, now had a guardian who was not only knowledgeable but also fierce in defense of the innocent. The city itself began to change, the streets now safer, the air clearer, and the people more confident in the face of the unknown. Patrick and Sarah's relationship had evolved, their bond now forged in the crucible of their shared experiences. They had faced the abyss together and emerged stronger for it, their love a testament to the power of the human spirit. Patrick, once a man consumed by his own darkness, now stood as a beacon of hope, a living proof that even the darkest souls could be redeemed. His story became legend, a tale that inspired countless others to believe in the power of redemption and the strength of the human will. Dr. Kane, ever the mentor and guiding force behind the Lightbringers, continued to share his knowledge with the group, his dedication to the cause unwavering. He had seen the transformation in Patrick, the growth of the Lightbringers, and knew that they were destined for greatness. The city was no longer a place of fear for its inhabitants, but one of hope and security, where the Lightbringers stood as a bulwark against the darkness. Page 16. With the rise of the Lightbringers, the city's streetlights shone brighter, the shadows cast by buildings seeming less foreboding. The group had become more than just a team of individuals. They had become a family, bound by their shared experiences and a common goal. Patrick, Sarah, and Dr. Kane were not just leaders, they were friends, confidants, and comrades in arms, their bond stronger than any supernatural force they might face. Their battles against the supernatural had become more frequent, as with power comes responsibility, and the Lightbringers had become a target for those entities that sought to maintain their dominion over the human realm. The group faced off against a myriad of demons, ghosts, and otherworldly beings, each encounter a test of their resolve and a lesson in the strength of the united human spirit. They had become warriors, each member a piece of a larger whole, their individual strengths amplified by their collective will. The Lightbringers had become a beacon of hope for the city, their presence a reassurance that the darkness could be warded off, that there were those who would stand against it. They had become a symbol of the strength of the human spirit, a reminder that even in the face of the unknown, there was always a light to be found in the darkness. Page 17. The group's successes against the supernatural entities had earned them the respect of the city's authorities, and they were often called upon to assist with cases that defied explanation. The police, once skeptical of the supernatural, now recognized the importance of having the Lightbringers by their side as they delved into the inexplicable happenings that plagued the city. Together, they formed a task force that dealt with the unexplained, a union of science and the supernatural that helped to keep the peace and protect the innocent. Patrick, Sarah, and Dr. Kane continued to lead the Lightbringers, their experiences serving as the foundation for their strategies and tactics. They knew that their fight was an ongoing battle, one that required vigilance and constant growth. The city had become a battleground, the streets a canvas for the eternal struggle between light and dark, but the Lightbringers were ready to stand their ground, their love for their city and its people a driving force. As the years passed, the Lightbringers had become a legend, their story passed down through generations. Patrick's tale of redemption and the battle against Zyfrak was now a part of the city's folklore, a reminder that even the darkest of souls could find salvation and that the human spirit was capable of triumphing over the most fearsome of adversaries. The city had changed, its people more aware, more vigilant, and more united in the face of the supernatural. Page 18. With each passing year, the Lightbringers continued to evolve, their methods refined, their knowledge expanded. They became a beacon of hope in a world that often seemed on the brink of chaos. The city itself had grown, its skyline reaching ever higher, a testament to human innovation and ambition. But beneath the surface, the supernatural world continued to thrive, ever watchful, ever ready to challenge the Lightbringers' dominion over the darkness. Patrick and Sarah's love had blossomed into more than just a relationship. It had become a partnership that defied the odds. Their life together was one of balance, their days filled with the mundane and the extraordinary, their nights often spent in vigil, guarding against the forces that sought to plunge the city into shadow. The Lightbringers, under their leadership, had become a pillar of their community, a symbol of human resilience against the unknown. As the years went by, the group had seen the rise and fall of many supernatural threats. Some had been banished, their power broken, while others had retreated only to regroup, biding their time in the shadows. The Lightbringers were ever vigilant, knowing that the battle against the darkness was never truly over, only ever changing in form and intensity. Page 19. The Lightbringers' legacy had grown beyond the city's borders, their story inspiring others to stand against the supernatural. The group's influence had spread, their teachings and methods becoming a model for other cities facing similar challenges. They had become a symbol of hope and a testament to the power of the human spirit, a reminder that even the darkest shadows can be dispelled by the light of courage and unity. Patrick and Sarah, now seasoned veterans of the supernatural war, continued to lead the Lightbringers with the same passion and dedication that had carried them through their darkest days. Their love had become a beacon, a living example of the strength of the human soul against the darkness. They had known loss and fear, but they had found strength in their unity, their love a shield against the supernatural forces that sought to harm the city and its people. The city, now a thriving metropolis, had seen peace and prosperity under the watchful eye of the Lightbringers. The streets were no longer haunted by the whispers of the supernatural, but instead echoed with the laughter of children and the bustle of everyday life. The Lightbringers had become more than just protectors. They had become guardians of the city's spirit, their presence a constant reminder of the power of the light against the darkness. 20. As the years rolled on, Patrick, Sarah, and the Lightbringers continued their vigil against the supernatural, their battles a testament to the enduring spirit of humanity. They had faced countless adversaries, each one more cunning and powerful than the last, but they had never wavered in their resolve. The city had become a bastion of hope, its people no longer cowering in fear but standing tall, knowing that the Lightbringers were there to protect them. The story of Patrick's possession and his subsequent triumph over Zyfrak had become a tale of legend, one that would inspire generations. His life had been a journey from darkness to light, a testament to the resilience of the human soul. The Lightbringers, under his leadership and Sarah's unwavering support, had become a symbol of hope and protection, a beacon that shone bright in the face of the unknown. The city, once a battleground between light and shadow, now stood as a testament to the strength of the human spirit. The Lightbringers had brought peace to the streets, their presence a constant reminder that even in the darkest of times, the light of human courage and unity could never be extinguished. And so, as the sun set on another day, the city's inhabitants slept soundly, knowing that the Lightbringers stood watch, ever vigilant against the darkness that lurked just beyond the veil of the everyday world. 1. In the